The first time I visited Primark was about 10 years ago. So this was soon after they opened the first US location in Boston at Downtown Crossing. And I remember walking in, I think I have photos from this. I need to like dig them up. And I remember walking in and being honestly a little like amazed. Like I am used to in general finding fashion to either be cool and expensive or less cool and inexpensive. But I kept seeing cool things that were priced, frankly, at shockingly low prices. And I guess that's what the Primark experience is. We're going to find out. So today, Primark has 33 locations, and their plans are to get to 60 in the US by next year. Now, they have a lot more outside of the US. They are a fashion retailer known around the world, but they're not yet a ubiquitous name in the US the way they are in Europe. So the question is, how does Primark get its name and its message in front of the American consumer? To find out, we are talking with Primark's US head of marketing, Renee Federico. You're listening to Where We Buy. It's the show where we talk with retail experts and we visit the places where we buy. My name is James Cook. I research retail and real estate for JLL. Welcome, Renee.
Hey, James. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yes, this is really exciting. Primark is one of those brands, like, I feel like in the US especially, if you know, you know. It's a lot of people who maybe like traveled to like, it used to be anyway, a lot of people who like traveled to London on vacation and would come back with a buzz about this Primark store that they went to. But just for folks that aren't yet familiar with the brand, for our audiences in places where we don't yet have Primark, how do you explain the Primark experience to a newbie?
So our experience is a lot like you described at the top of the podcast, which is it's a wow factor experience. It's an experience that can deliver style, affordability, and quality, which isn't something you get a lot, particularly in a lot of U.S. retailers. But essentially, I mean, it's kind of an invitation to fall in love with your closet, right? Which is to say that you don't need to compromise on what you're looking for. You don't need to wait for some sort of discount cycle that has been mandated by some other retailer or by the industry to get what you need. It's the opportunity really to go in, find what you're looking for, be able to treat yourself, be able to find everything for your whole family. And for every occasion that you shop for, like we're a retailer that can cover a lot of needs. But essentially, I mean, we're able to deliver incredible value with a ton of wow factor. And what we're really trying to do is to make sure that we go from if you know, you know,
Right.
to everyone knows and they know why.
Yeah. And, something else that's fascinating about Primark is that you don't really sell things online. It is really brick and mortar. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we're always looking for ways to better serve the U.S. consumer. And we know that online shopping is a big part of the U.S. shopping experience. But right now, our business is anchored in our store experiences. And as I've described and as you've mentioned, they're pretty exceptional. And we've really taken a strategic and thoughtful approach to our expansion. We know that every market allows us the opportunity to really learn and refine what's needed in the U.S. market. And we're a retailer founded in Dublin, Ireland, grounded our business in the U.K. and Europe. And although the proposition resonates globally, right, affordability, style, and quality, we know that there's nuance between markets. And so we've had to take an approach in the US that's allowed us to expand with a lot of strategic intent and then really understand, hey, what's the size of the prize ahead and how do we best get after it as a business? And we need to scale, quickly. So that's sort of been our approach in making sure that the excellence with which we operate our retail stores is a point of distinction for us as a brand, and we're able to still deliver that our customer proposition, and an amazing shopping experience.
So I want to dig into the U.S. strategy a little bit more, but before we get into that, let's talk a little bit more about you. When was the first time you went to a Primark? Were you really into the brand before you started working there?
I mean, I was aware of it, having spent a good deal of my career just in the understanding the U.S. marketplace, and being a marketeer. You're always interested in what is consumers are experiencing. I would say, given just sort of roles that I've had, and participation in different retail adjacent jobs and things like that, that I've been to a lot of malls. I dare say I've almost been to a mall in every single state in the United States, if not several. So yes, I was aware of the brand, but I hadn't experienced the brand. And so when I was being considered for this role, I did visit our Massachusetts-based stores, and my reaction at every single store was to walk in and say, "Wow." And I think that was one of many things that drew me to this brand, which is we uniquely deliver an exceptional store experience.
That's awesome. So, the listenership of this podcast is the kind of people who do go out of their way to go to shopping centers and malls. So, you're talking to your people. You said you visited.
I'm in good company.
You visited malls in every state. Tell us a little bit more about your background leading up to Primark. What you were with Converse, right?
Yep, I was with Converse as part of the Nike brand, and Nike in general, really essentially, James, for my entire career. And that started back on a retail sales floor here in Boston, where I first started as a part-time sales associate. And I think for me, that really solidified for me a passion for being a conduit between brands and customers. I understood the importance that 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 exists between the ability for a brand to connect with customers so they feel good about what they're shopping for, and that's essentially what I built my career on. So yeah, several years with Nike, and with the Converse brand, two really well respected brands. And just in my passion for marketing has come through the ability to create those authentic relationships between customers and brands, and really a curiosity around what drives marketplace and marketing, and good messaging, branding, and brand equity.
In your time in apparel marketing, what's the
Yeah.
biggest change that you've seen?
Well, I mean, the consumer is the hero now.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think, I would say earlier on, it was really about what brands project. And I believe that that has evolved. And certainly, core to what a brand is has to be what they stand for. But how that is translated to customers has evolved quite a bit. And so whether it's through innovations in media, or through the ability for consumers to own a more powerful position in brands in terms of what they demand, what's important to them, what is required from a storytelling standpoint to get them to want to interact with brands and things like that. So, gone are sort of the days where all you need is an ad campaign.
Right.
And now you have to think about journeys and ecosystems and messaging across a full funnel. And it isn't just about creating demand for your brand, it's about how do you create demand, and then how do you serve that demand on the other end.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, let's talk about a real life case study. I know Primark is doing its first ever U.S. brand campaign called "That's So Primark," and
Yep.
I I watched kind of the main, what do you call them? I'm not a marketer, like the hero videos or something like that, like the main videos of them to get a sense of the campaign.
Sure.
And it's like, as a non-marketer, it seemed to me like, hey, you're trying to explain the excitement of Primark to a newbie. Is that fair to say, or what's the goal of the campaign?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think what we want to do is really land our message of style, quality, and affordability. And we want to do it in a way, our creative platform is That's So Primark, which is really our brand identity. And it really does encompass that our positioning as a retailer that understands the joy of shopping and understands the necessity of shopping. And we're able to kind of bring those things together uniquely for customers. And as I said before, we can do it without having to have them compromise in any way. So we've been introducing our brand to the US consumer, as you mentioned, for 10 years now through our store expansion, but we've taken a marked approach to building awareness from a brand and marketing standpoint over the last year, essentially through investment in media campaigns, but also through how we treat our markets in terms of, as we do continue to expand, how is it that we're preheating a market? How are we activating for our store openings? And then how are we optimizing our ability to remind customers that we're a retailer worth visiting in new markets? And then the third thing that we're doing is amplifying the power of New York City. And so we have our highest concentration of stores in that market in the New York metro area. And so we're really making a push towards focusing on that area to kind of amplify our message so it can kind of radiate out from there.
Okay, you said a couple of things I want to touch on, but the most recent was the power of New York. So,
Yes.
as a real estate person, I'm very excited about the new Primark lease signed at Herald Square.
Yes.
It is kind of just down the way from the where the iconic Macy's is at Herald Square. Great location. Talk to me about why New York, and particularly Manhattan and Herald Square, is so important to kind of creating, the branding in the U.S.
Sure. I mean, New York is globally relevant, and it is a mecca for fashion. It is a mecca for retail. And so having a store in Herald Square, as you mentioned, where, every time you mention Herald Square, you say where the famous fill in the blank
Right.
is, where the famous
Penn
Penn
Station.
Station is, where the famous Madison Square Garden is, the world famous Macy's is.
Yeah.
So I think that just in the language we use, it narrates the importance of New York City to a brand. And it really is a signal globally, not to just the U.S. consumer, but globally, that you matter, that you matter in retail, that you matter in fashion, and you matter in culture. And I think the importance of that and the importance of New York City is relevancy. And relevancy drives demand for your brand. Relevancy drives curiosity in what you have to offer. Relevancy drives exploration. And that's really what we're looking for. And New York offers us the opportunity to do that, to be out in front of a lot of customers and to also take the brand to another level in the US. New York opens opportunity like no other market in the world, or it gives you license to do things for customers and for your brand in new and innovative ways.
I want to touch on something else you mentioned. You talked about preheating. So I want to dig into
Yeah.
that. That must be stage one when you're entering a market. Is that fair to say?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
tell me a little more about that,
An
like how that
introduction.
works.
Well, I mean, essentially, we have to understand that if we're going into a new market, we have to get into that market and start to talk about the brand, and we have to start to lay a foundation that will help all of our activity that follows be more effective. And that's on a certain scale, right, James? So it's like if we go back to the New York example, in a couple weeks' time, we're going to open up a brand space, what we're calling the Primark Studio, in NoHo. And it's really a space to kind of immerse yourself in our brand so we can kind of preheat all the excitement around the Manhattan opening coming this spring. So that's what it looks like for New York. As we said, New York demands a different level of activation, right? For one of our other markets that are just as important but require a different level of activation, we would go in and we would start our targeted advertising. We would start to become more visible in that market. We would work through our mall and real estate partners to be able to get our marketing and messaging out in front of customers to start to build that anticipation of what's to come.
That's fantastic. And I should mention, I live in Indianapolis area where we do have a
Great.
Primark coming. So I'm going to be looking for your marketing.
Yes, at the Castleton Mall. Yes, we
Yep.
will be. Yes. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, which is exciting. I mean, we're a pretty small market. So when somebody like Primark comes to town, people really notice in a way that you don't have to cut through as much noise in Indy as you do in, say, New York or LA.
Sure.
um
I will
yeah.
say too, James, we really do celebrate our openings. So just today, we're opening just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, and at the Cool Springs Galleria. And it's a full celebration. We bring in a lot of activation for opening day. So I hope when we are out in Castleton, we'll definitely have you out to the opening.
Oh,
But
great.
we'd really want people to know too that when there's a Primark coming, to your local mall or to a shopping area that you go to, it is a full celebration. We're really focused on making it a really unique customer experience. We don't just unlock the door and let people come in and shop. We really want to spend time celebrating and becoming a part of their overall shopping community.
I love it. Oh, I want to circle back. You mentioned a Primark studio in NoHo in New York.
Mhm.
What are you going to like? What kind of events or things are you doing there to kind of generate buzz? I'm curious about what the specifics are around that.
So we have a whole, a really comprehensive list of programming. What we're leading with is some events around finding your perfect colors, like so we're really kind of grounded in style, and we're taking the opportunity to do a color analysis. So we're inviting customers in to have their colors analyzed, and they'll be able to leave with um, essentially a blueprint for what colors look great on them. And then we'll show some products as well that show them how they could style themselves to kind of best take advantage of where their strengths are from their colors. Although we also encourage them to express themselves, and they'd look great in any of our products. But it's just a way to kind of bring a more added value to kind of our ability to help people style themselves and express themselves. We'll also be hosting media and influencers for a holiday party, which we're looking forward to, and we'll have a full display of our holiday offering. And then from there, like I said, we have months of programming leading up to our opening in spring of 26.
That's awesome. Really building the buzz up, getting people excited. Does Primark have to adapt itself to the U.S. market in terms of like merchandising or branding or anything like that, or is it pretty much the same in every country?
Well, I think certainly, yeah, there's a level of adaptation. I would say we are firmly grounded in our creative platform of That's So Primark. We believe that resonates globally. There is something about our brand that is tangibly, you can experience tangibly across all markets that we operate in. And then certainly there's a level of adaptation depending on market opportunity. For example, honestly, James, just as we talked about, in the UK, they don't have an awareness problem. Like they're not trying to build awareness for Primark. They are you know, a well-respected brand with a long legacy of serving that market. And so what their job to do is different than the US. In the US, we need to build awareness. So I think that's a great example of where does some of that adaptation come from, where in the UK and Europe, they can tailor their storytelling to be a little bit different. Where in the US, you know, we have to make sure that we're really kind of uh, exclusively promoting who we are first so we can draw customers into our world. I think, you know, other markets can take a different approach. So I think that's one kind of unique way that we have to adapt across markets.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. The I was just watching one of the campaign videos that's so Primark, and it's really funny. You've got a woman who's like got her face pressed up against a window, you know, is just like so in love, can't wait to get inside, and it shows the fashion. If I remember correctly, it shows the prices too, and they're really low.
Sure.
Like, so that's a part of it too, is you're supposed to think like, oh, that's cool. Oh, it's affordable too.
Right, exactly. I think sometimes, you know, we overtly have to message that way because we are, you know, a first price, best price retailer. And again, as I said, we're not kind of using any sort of mechanism to force customers into, well, wait for us to mark down and we're going to try to entice you with all sorts of different discounts and things like that that can get confusing. We're going to do the work to make sure we're offering the best value in the market. And then we're really proud to put those prices in our ads and put those prices out in front of our customers because to be honest, our stuff looks so great, you probably assume it's more expensive than it is. And so that's where we get a lot of just eyebrow raising of like, wow, that's only, you know, $24 or $12. It's a great thing to have as in our toolkit as we market to our customers.
Now seems like a great time for Primark to expand in the US. I mean, I just think about like the American consumer. They've got, you know, a number of years of inflation, you know, so their paychecks aren't going as far. They're spending a lot more at the grocery store, but you still want to get some nice clothes for work or back to school shopping. Um, is it is Primark's expansion right now timed around that, or is it just like a happy coincidence?
You know, I think the market circumstances are always going to be what they
Right.
are. I think what we've been focused on is really driving sustainable strategies, sustainable, scalable strategies that are driven through insights that we believe are great for our customers and great for our business. And so, as the world around us shifts in different ways, we know that we're agile enough to be able to kind of sustain whatever that might bring us from a business standpoint. Um, but our focus is to really refine our strategies and stay laser sharp on what we want to deliver. And we want to deliver value. And delivering value for our customer with what our brand is able to offer is to give them great style with great quality that remains affordable. And I think that our ability to build our brand, um, we're able to kind of execute that model and scale that model in no matter what the business circumstances are.
How long does it take for a brand to sort of generate national awareness in a big country like the US? I mean, do you have a sense of like, oh, you know, it's going to be a year or two and everybody's going to know us? Or do you think it's going to be more of a hard won battle?
My answer is sort of anywhere between a day and like a million days
Okay.
because right because because of the nature of how things can go viral.
Right. Yeah.
You could be the most well-known brand in the United States by end of day, literally. Like, and that isn't necessarily something in your control, but a lot of brands have built a lot of equity because of that happening, we'll say. And let's not, you know, to be fair, that can happen in good ways and not so positive ways. I think that there probably is a relationship between investment, scalability, and marketplace that sort of exists that I would have to give some thought to before you're able to actually pinpoint the length of time. I'm also hesitant to say because I don't want to get locked into something
Oh,
and
for
then have my
sure.
leadership team said, "Hey, by the way, you said this on a podcast, and now we're going to hold you to it." So, but I do think it really is without avoiding the question is in today's landscape. The difference between 10 minutes and 10 years is much closer than you think it
Yeah.
is. And so it really is about it, finding the most efficient and effective ways to become relevant with your audience, um, and then finding the right ways to be able to kind of optimize based on that. So, yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about social media marketing. Influencer marketing is so important. What is the strategy for a Primark? I mean, you talked a little bit about, doing events in New York. Are there like celebrity influencer partnerships? I mean, talk to me about how that stuff kind of works?
Sure. I think it's massively important. I think right now, social media is probably retail's loudest
Yeah.
salesperson. And I think that the truly the influence it can have is massive for brands. And so we're exploring all opportunities to kind of bring an offense together around that. For me, it really starts with the ability to kind of harness those authentic voices to be able to add dimension and editorialize your brand, right? Because the, you know, I often go back to this stat that 80% of fashion purchases are influenced by brand perception. And social media is a massive driver of brand perception. So as we were speaking about before, it says like, hey, what's different, where before brands were able to really closely control the narrative and put forward a perception, and that perception was almost universally adopted. Social media has changed that dynamic to the degree that there's more trusted voices than brands out there, and they exist through creators. Um, and so it is very much a part of what we consider absolutely critical to our marketing offense going forward, which is our ability to bring in the power of social media influencer and partnerships so that we're able to kind of, again, as I mentioned, like create an ecosystem around our brand where it's accessible in multiple different ways through multiple dimensions of storytelling.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. People seem to really connect with the creators online and seeing people that they connect with interacting, with your brand really, gets them excited about it. So Renee, you're based out of Boston, which is where the U.S. headquarters for Primark are. Are you originally from Boston?
I am, yes.
So Boston was the first Primark location. Um, what has Primark learned from 10 years in Boston? This is a place where you've been a while. Are there some good learnings that you got from that?
Absolutely. I mean, we learn from our Boston location, our Boston store team daily. I think one of the benefits of having our U.S. headquarters, which sits just adjacent to that store that opened here in downtown Crossing 10 years ago, is we have the tactile and the actual manifestation of all of our strategies and all of our discussions and all of our debates is literally manifesting next door. And it's a great way for us to stay true to who we serve, here in our corporate office, which is those customers and that store team right there next to us. And, I've always said if you want to a great example of how effective your strategies are, go and stand in the store and see is what you're doing actually having the desired effect. And it's not your business model that people shop, it's your stores. And so get in there and really understand what's happening. I think we've also learned that sort of being a fixture here in downtown Crossing, which is has been a long time retail destination in Boston, we have a very loyal and very enthusiastic base of shoppers here that have been great advocates for us throughout our time in this market. And so we're really pleased to be able to continue to serve them and make sure that our Boston store is representative of all of our best strategies.
I love it. So the last time I was in Primark was like a month ago. I was in Florida, and one of the things that stood out to me was there was a lot of Disney branded merchandise, which was probably the most popular section of the store because it was like a tourist area in Orlando. If one of our listeners is a first-time visitor to Primark, and maybe you're giving them a tour, you were giving them a tour of a store, what might you point out inside a store that's like, this is different, this is what sets us apart?
I mean, it's really everything.
Yeah.
But and I've given so many store tours in my career that it's just, I'm part of excited for this question and I'm part of having some PTSD.
Oh, no.
So I'll have to let it settle for a second. But I would say, first and foremost, the care and attention and dedication with which our store teams, our store management teams, our area management teams, and our store associates create the environment in the store, first and foremost, is recognizable when you walk in our spaces. They're stocked and they're cared for, and the teams are constantly working to set up the pads and things in ways that make sense. I would also say that you can go from area to area to area, and again, that first word out of your mouth is going to be wow, 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 whether it's our lead trend rooms for men and women, which are showing you the latest trends at affordable prices where you can feel like, wow, I could really be stylish. I love these items. I love how they're put together. I love the depth and breadth of the assortment. We have an amazing section for kids where we're able to offer basics, great license collections, great pajama sets all the way through. So there's kind of everything you need for full family shopping. We also have exceptionally good, as you mentioned, Florida in particular, there's a high demand for Disney product, but all of our licensors, including NFL, NBA, music licenses, we really are kind of tapping into that kind of cultural piece where people want to style licensed items with fashion items. So we allow the opportunity to do that. We have great basics. I mean, it's kind of like, I feel like I'm a talk show host. It's like, come on down.
Right.
There really is everything. And you can be shopping for the most stylish occasion you have on your calendar, or for the most basic needs you have for apparel, footwear, and accessories. And we can serve all of that in one place.
I love it. Renee Federico, Primark's U.S. Head of Marketing, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a fascinating conversation.
Thanks so much, James.
And if you like this podcast, do me a favor. Go into the app that you're listening to us right now and give us a rating. Or even better, give us a little review. Maybe just write a single sentence or even a word, one thing that you liked about the show. I am told it helps with people finding out about the show. You can subscribe to Where We Buy on the iPhone podcast app. We're on Spotify. Pretty much wherever you get a podcast, search for Where We Buy, and we are there. We're also on the web at wherewebuy.show. If you've got a specific question about retail, shopping centers, or retail real estate, feel free to connect and message with me on LinkedIn. Just search for James Cook JLL. There's a million James Cooks out there, but only one at JLL that I know of. Our theme music is Run in the Night by the Good Lords under Creative Commons license. All right, that's a wrap.